Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Intimacy Lab. Have you ever had the quiet sense that she misses you, but would never admit it, that behind her polished smile and her social media glow up, there's an ache, a whisper of something unresolved? We live in a world that celebrates moving on. We clap for the ones who level up, who post their healed girl era selfies, who say with confidence, "I'm better without him," and maybe she is. But what if she's not? What if late at night her fingers hover over your contact name and she doesn't press send? What if she's scrolling through old pictures not to delete them, but to remember who she was when she was with you? Regret doesn't always shout. Sometimes it tiptoes, it shows up in silence, in the way she suddenly unfollows you, not because she doesn't care, but because she still does. In how she brings you up in casual conversation, then quickly changes the subject. You see, most women won't admit they regret leaving a man. Not because they're cold, but because to say "I miss him" is to admit that they may have walked away from something real. But if you know what to look for, the signs are there. Today, we're going to talk about those signs. Not the dramatic ones, the quiet ones, the subtle ones, the ones that whisper what her pride won't let her say out loud. Have you ever noticed how some things feel louder in silence than they ever did in words? That's the strange thing about regret. It rarely announces itself, it hides behind detours, it camouflages itself in strength. And when it comes to a woman who once loved you, but now claims she's over it, regret doesn't show up as a confession. It shows up as contradiction. You might see it in the way she suddenly starts showing up where you are. Not directly, no. She doesn't call, she doesn't text, but she posts from the same cafe she never used to visit when she was with you. She accidentally bumps into your sister at the gym or your best friend at that gallery downtown. These are not coincidences, these are emotional check-ins, because here's the truth: when a woman regrets losing you, she doesn't always want you back. She just wants to know you're still available, that she could if she wanted to. It's not always about love, sometimes it's about power, about reassurance. About realizing she underestimated the emotional weight you carried in her life. Sign #1, she becomes hyper, aware of your presence or your absence. She watches your stories but doesn't like the post. She asks your mutual friends about you, then pretends she doesn't care what the answer is. It's not direct communication, but it is contact. This is the regret that slips between the cracks of modern connection. She wants to feel you nearby without opening herself to the vulnerability of missing you, and so she lingers. Not in your arms, but in your digital space, not in your messages, but in the way she circles your orbit. If she truly moved on, why does she still need to know what city you're in, who you're with, and if you're smiling? And yet, when you try to reach out, maybe she's cold, aloof, disinterested. That's because admitting regret feels like surrendering pride. And for many women, pride is the only armor they have left after heartbreak, so she won't say it, but she'll signal it. Quietly, indirectly, painfully. Then comes the next shift, something subtle, something you might mistake for healing, but isn't. Sign #2, she reinvents herself loudly, almost abruptly. It's like watching someone switch the channel on their own life. New look, new habits, new everything, not the slow, organic kind of change, but the kind that screams, "Look at me now." She's suddenly into yoga, green juice, solo travel, or red lipstick she never used to wear. And there's nothing wrong with change. In fact, evolution is beautiful, but this kind of reinvention isn't always about discovery, it's often about distraction. When a woman regrets letting a good man go, she doesn't always sit in that pain. Sometimes she drowns it in transformation. If she can't get you back, she'll try to become the version of herself she thinks you might notice again. Or worse, she becomes someone new just to prove to herself that she never needed you at all. But if you look closely, the change isn't rooted. It's reactive. She's not building a new life, she's rebelling against the old one, and you were part of that old one. When a woman is truly at peace, she doesn't need an audience for her healing, but when regret lingers, her changes become performances. Not for you to see, but for her to believe. She posts more selfies than ever, but something in her eyes is tired. She smiles wide, but it doesn't reach her voice. She throws herself into new people, new experiences, new ideas. But the one thing she's trying to escape is the echo of your absence. And I want to pause here for a moment, not to judge her, not to mock her journey, but to help you understand that regret doesn't always make people come back. Sometimes it just makes them run faster in the other direction, hoping they can outrun the truth, because the truth is, she felt something with you that was real. And now that it's gone, she's trying to figure out how to fill that space without showing anyone that it still aches. And if you've ever felt that, you know exactly how deep that ache can go. Now, let's go one layer deeper. Let's talk about the shift in the way she talks about you, or avoids talking about you at all. People say silence is powerful, but selective silence, that's where you really start to hear the truth, especially when her words no longer match her energy. Because when a woman regrets walking away, she doesn't always try to win you back, but she will try to rewrite the story she tells herself about you. And about what happened, sign #3, she mentions you casually, but with sharp edges. At first, it sounds like she's over it. She tells a friend, yeah, we had our time, he was sweet, just not for me. Or she shrugs and says, we were too different, but then there's a little sting in her tone. A flicker of tension, a comment that doesn't quite match the peace she's pretending to have. Maybe she says you were too intense, or too emotional, or too controlling, when she never described you that way before. Why now? Because she's wrestling with the part of her that knows she lost something valuable. She's rewriting the narrative so that she can feel safe with her choice, so she doesn't have to confront the possibility that maybe, just maybe, she walked away from a man who truly saw her. And that realization, it's terrifying. This is the kind of regret that hides behind sarcasm, behind sudden bitterness. It's not what she says, it's how she says it. A woman who is really indifferent will barely bring you up. But a woman who still thinks about you, she'll talk about you with a tone that's laced with unresolved feeling. And often that unresolved feeling has the shape of regret, but the flavor of defensiveness, and sometimes she'll do the exact opposite. She'll refuse to talk about you at all, like the subject is forbidden. That silence, that avoidance. That's where the heaviest feelings live, but even more powerful than her words is how she reacts when someone else steps into your life. Sign #4, her energy changes when she sees you with someone else. It's one thing to walk away from a relationship. It's another to watch the person you once loved become something more, with someone else, and this is where regret has a way of making itself visible, even when she tries to hold it in. She might go quiet when she finds out you're seeing someone new, or suddenly she starts posting about how free and happy she is every hour on the hour. But there's a tension underneath it, a desperation to be seen, not because she's moved on, but because she's trying to prove that she has. Maybe she throws a little shade, a snarky comment about the girl you're with. Maybe she says she's not really your type, or that won't last. Why does it matter to her if she's done? It matters because your love is being given to someone else, and that stings, especially if she's now realizing she took it for granted when she had it. You see, regret isn't just about missing you. It's about missing the version of herself that existed when she was with you. The woman who felt safe in your arms, the woman who felt seen when you looked at her, and when she sees another woman being loved the way she once was. That's when it hits her. You weren't just a moment. You were a man with depth, a man with loyalty, a man who offered something real, and now someone else is receiving it. She won't say it, of course not, Pride doesn't let her, but if you watch her eyes, her energy, her sudden mood changes when your name comes up. Those are the clues. That's the hidden language of emotional regret, and I want you to hear me on this. Her regret is not your responsibility. You don't need to chase it, fix it, or make her confess it. What matters more is what you do with that truth. Do you internalize it as unfinished business, or do you let it affirm your worth? Because being missed is not the same as being loved again. Her regret might be real, yes, but that doesn't mean she's ready to come back with maturity, with healing, with accountability. Sometimes regret is just a mirror of what could have been, not what will be. Still, there's one final sign, one that's harder to read, but even more telling. And it has nothing to do with what she says, or even how she acts, but with what she still holds on to. There's a certain kind of quiet that feels heavier than noise, a silence that isn't empty, it's full of meaning, of emotion, of things left unsaid. And this is where we find the most telling sign of all, the one that doesn't scream for attention but quietly anchors itself into her daily rituals, her memories, her heart. Sign #5, she keeps something that belonged to you. It might be a hoodie, a photo, a playlist you made together. Maybe it's that inside joke only the two of you understood, or the candle you once bought for her that she never replaced. These things may seem small to the world, but in the private sanctuary of her home they carry weight. Because when a woman is truly done, when she's certain she made the right choice, she lets go, not just of the man, but of the memories attached to him. But when she's not done, when there's a trace of longing woven into her breath, she'll keep something. Not to reopen the door, but because she's not ready to close it all the way, and this is where the complexity begins. Because women are masters of closure, or at least of pretending they have it. We're taught to move on with grace, to cut ties, to show strength. But no one talks about the objects we keep tucked away, the letters we don't burn, the photos we hide in folders we never open, yet never delete. Those are the fingerprints of unfinished grief, of quiet regret, of wondering what might have happened if pride hadn't gotten in the way, if fear hadn't driven her to leave something real before it had the chance to mature. You might never see what she's kept. You might never hear her admit that she listens to your favorite song when no one's around. But she does, and the reason she does, because it connects her to a version of herself she's not sure how to recreate. You see, regret isn't just about losing you. It's about losing herself in the process, losing the woman she was when she felt seen, desired, emotionally safe. When she was with you, she may have felt the kind of intimacy that scares people because it asks for honesty. It demands presence, and not everyone is ready for that. So she left, or maybe you left, but the part that stayed, the part she holds on to, that's where regret takes root. This final sign, this quiet keeping of something you touched, something you gave, it's not always romantic. Sometimes it's just a way for her to say to herself, I was loved, I mattered, I still carry it with me. And I want to pause here to say something not just to you, but to every man listening who has felt like he was the only one still holding on. You weren't, you aren't, even when she looks free, even when she glows with her new self and her new plans. Grief doesn't wear a label. Regret doesn't walk up and introduce itself. It hides, inhabits, in hesitation, in the way her new love never quite fits the way you did. In the way she still compares every touch to yours and wonders, silently, if she gave up something real for something safe. So if you've seen these signs, if your gut has whispered that she regrets it, know this, you're not imagining things. And more importantly, you're not crazy for still feeling something. Emotions are not clocks. They don't operate on logic or social timelines. They rise in waves, they soften in time. They reappear when the world goes quiet, and that's why this matters. Not because she'll come back, but because you deserve to see the truth for what it is, not for what she pretends it to be. But now let's shift the focus, because seeing her regret is only half of the equation. What you do with that insight, that's where your power lies. It's a strange thing, isn't it, to carry someone's silence like it's still a conversation, to feel the echoes of what was never said louder than the words you did exchange. And yet here you are still wondering if it meant something, if she ever looked back, if maybe behind her strong exterior there was a woman whispering to herself, "I made a mistake." Maybe she did. But you don't need her to admit it for it to be true. This is where your growth begins, not by chasing her or decoding her every post or glance, but by choosing to see yourself clearly. Because knowing she regrets it might feel satisfying, even validating, but if you're not careful, it can also become a trap. A mirror you stare into for too long, hoping it will speak. But mirrors don't speak, they reflect. And what you need now is to stop looking for her in the reflection and start seeing yourself. You were not perfect, but you were present. You were not flawless, but you were honest. And whether she admits it or not, you gave her something real. Something rare, something that can't be replaced by selfies, new lovers, or curated reinventions. You gave her you, and that mattered. But this isn't a story about her anymore. This is a story about you. What are you going to do now that you know? Will you sit in that ache, waiting for a ghost to become flesh again? Or will you rise, not as revenge? Not to prove her wrong, but because you've finally remembered who you were before the regret entered the room. You see, when a woman regrets losing a man, it's not just about the love, it's about the man's presence, his stability, his emotional truth. And if you've been that man, you know what it costs to carry your heart like that in a world that often rewards indifference. So maybe she'll come back, or maybe she won't. Maybe she'll live the rest of her life whispering your name to herself in quiet moments of nostalgia. But your job isn't to wait for her voice to rise. Your job is to build a life so full, so grounded, so alive with clarity, that even her silence becomes irrelevant. Let the signs be what they are, clues, echoes, proof that you mattered, but don't let them be your compass. If she regrets it, let her carry that. You're not her healer anymore. You're not the chapter she gets to reopen without intention. If she ever comes back, it must be with maturity, with responsibility, with truth, not performance, not pride in disguise. And if she never does, then let her absence confirm your value, not question it, because regret is her mirror. But your power is your direction. And so, to every man watching this who has felt that lingering pull, the wondering, the doubting, the longing to know if you were truly seen, this is your answer: yes. You were, but now you must become the man who sees himself. She may never admit she regrets it, but you no longer need her to. Your clarity is your closure, and your future, it's waiting for the version of you who no longer waits. So take that next breath, stand up, step forward, and let the echo of her regret fade behind the sound of your purpose. You are not the man who was left. You are the man who rose.